What's going on, everybody? It's Byron Ryan here. We have an extremely special guest and an extremely special guest host. So, first, we'll welcome Jake from 50 Plus Donaire, or however you want to call it, Donaire, whatever country you're in to call it what it is. The greatest food on earth outside of Libra case. So, we have Jake
Oh,
here. Hey, don't be talking about my lubricants. That is the greatest stuff on planet Earth.
I will say no more
And
then.
then we've got down here the ever present voice of the Bundesliga. Well, half of the voice of the Bundesliga, because we got to give Derek the other half. So we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Bonney. Now, Jake, I know you had said on Twitter that Phil was, I guess, one of your favorite commentators. We'll start this off with a bang. Favorite call, go for it.
Oh, I mean, as a unbiased, but as a Cone fan, for some reason Phil always has Cone games. So, I mean, for whatever
I
reason, I mean that may just be luck of the draw. So,
think it's closer to his house.
supposedly, we won't triangulate on his location, but
I mean,
um,
Cologne's not a small town. It would be hard to find
no,
Phil in Cologne.
a little hard. Although I missed seeing you when I was in Cologne. I was part of the group from the U.S. that came there, so
How did that happen?
I helped organize it. So I just
Yeah,
got
yeah, it was fun. We went up the dorm.
yeah.
Now, guys, I know this is the first time. Phil, you've been on, I think, an Instagram live before. Um, Jake, this is the first time you've been on a anything with me. So the rules are there ain't no damn rules. This is how we run my shit. I mean, you could say bad words, just don't say anything bad about Bayern. You can't say anything good about Dortmund.
Oh, breaking all those rules.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is I mean, there's really no rules. It's not going to be traditionalized interview type, and Phil knows that. It's basically three guys sitting in a pub. I mean, we can't drink because it's 10 a.m. and we look like alkies, but
And I'm working, so I'm drinking water.
well, you've got to save your voice. You've got what 9,000 Bundesliga videos and stuff to overview.
I've got a really busy weekend. Probably the busiest I've ever been. I've got 4 live games over the coming DFB Cup weekend. I've got one Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I've got Köln.
Oh,
So, you'll be happy about that. The trip to Osnabrück. I'll be calling that one for the DFB. Yeah, it's going to be really busy, and it's actually really, really intense when you get these kind of games because we don't do all the games out of the studios. I'm sure you're aware.
Mm.
Some of them were in the stadium, so I'll be in the stadium for Mainz against Dortmund. That's one of the littler Mainzes, not the Mainz 05. But in between, yeah, I've got Friday. I've got the Gladbach game against Bundesliga, and the thing for I don't know how my fellow commentators feel about it is second Bundesliga and the Bundesliga. Those teams, it's always useful to do them. But then you get some team that's done really well, come up from like the 5th or 6th division or won a cup somewhere, qualified for the DFB Pokal. And you've got absolutely no idea who these people are, what they do, because a lot of them are amateurs, so they're either they've got day jobs, and of course they've got well-intentioned people working their internet sites and things, but they're from last season because they get updated when people have got the time. Of course, that's the way
Yeah.
it all works. You don't have somebody sat there, oh, my job is to make sure everybody's informed and up to the minute. So that Ryan can sort of have a go at people for having inaccurate information on their websites. But
I'm good
yeah,
at
so
that.
it's great. And then what you want to try and do is, because as you probably know as well, I'm a freelancer, so I don't actually work for the DFL. I'm not employed by the DFL other than as a freelancer, and it's the same with the DFB. So I've kind of got no headed notepaper, as it were, like that says Phil Bonney, Germany football commentator, whatever. So then you try and get in contact with people like the press guys for these little clubs, and you send them an email, and you think, well, I'll be cute, so I'll send it in English and then put a German translation underneath, so at least they think that I'm not just some German trying to wind them up.
Oh Lord. Well, and see, and
you don't hear anything from them.
Well, and the craziest thing is you won't hear from them. But the thing is like they may read it and not know what to do with it. Like, because I remember sending an email. I think it was FC Heilbronn, which is an extremely tiny team. It's FC Union Heilbronn now. I think they combined two of the Heilbronn teams to make an actual decent size one. But I sent them information like, hey, I'm going to be in Germany. Want to check out one of your games. How do you buy tickets? who do I find out?
Just jump over the fence.
Well, the thing was when I looked at the stadium, I was like, I don't think they have a fence. It looks like just like there's stands and stuff, but it just looks like a high school in the U.S. Like where if you're brave enough, you can just hop the little 4-foot fence.
Yeah.
But I mean, they finally got back to me, but it was they got back to me, but it was 6 months after I'd already left the country. Yeah. And they're like, sorry, we just checked our email. I was like, fucking Jesus. Okay.
Because, of course, I want to actually be able to, when these 5th and 6th division and 4th division sides play, I want to be able to say, oh, that's ball's just gone to Billy Jones. Billy Jones, this is not his full time. He works as an electrician or he's a teacher or whatever, does these kind of things. But I don't even know the damn number that this guy plays because nobody's got like an overview of the current squad because, of course, it's the start of the season. So they've mixed things around. So you go and look on places of reference like Transfermarkt or somewhere like that, or the Shock Away, and you've got the numbers of the players, but they're probably from last season, and some of them are listed, although they are obviously transferred out because they were playing against somebody else last night for a different team completely. So you've got no idea.
Or they can't get off work. If they can't get off work to play Gladbach.
You're lucky to have me today, actually, because I've got so much research to do for this weekend. It's not true. It's actually going back to the Bundesliga the weekend afterwards is going to be a bit of a holiday. Just a couple of games at the weekend is a lot more relaxing than 4 all at the same time with no information. And
we all know only one game matters this weekend. There's just only one game that matters. It's Bayern versus that nasty energy drink company. And that one is, well, let's put it this way. For a Bayern fan, the Spurs game this weekend matters a little bit more than the Super Cup game. Because if Harry Kane is in that Spurs lineup, then we've wasted an entire summer chasing a fucking dream that I tried to tell everybody 3 months ago was going to be a pain in the ass.
It's a wanted distraction, I should imagine, for everyone. But it does leave you in the same situation you were in last season without a proper number. Obviously, Choupo-Moting did the job very adequately. I thought. I think he was one of the most underrated. It's not an easy job taking over from Lewandowski, I should imagine.
No, but I mean, the thing is you would assume. Well, and I can't say that because we had so many changes in like the front office, the manager change. You had Brazo that was negotiating contracts. You had Kahn and Brazo and Heiner and all them looking for players, had already started the contacts and all that stuff. And Nepe running around with his head cut off. Then all of a sudden we get rid of Kahn and Brazo and get rid of Nagelsmann. Now we've got Tuchel. So now everything completely changed as far as what we were looking for. Yeah. And as y'all have probably seen with like Alphonso Davies, he was really close to an extension. Now he's not. And it's like, okay, so what really changed in that besides you the numbers and everything are staying the same. It's just you're not dealing with Brazo. You're dealing with Nepe or Dresden or something like that.
Changed anything. All they've done is they've swapped out Salihamidzic and Khan, and they're still chasing their same tails, but with different people. The delivery of a striker has not happened. If they get Kane, I mean, this it's got such a recipe for disaster all over it. Let's just say, hypothetically, they get Kane, someone slices him off at the knees in the first game.
Now you're back to square one, minus 100 and some odd million.
Exactly. I mean, let's hope that this. I mean, I don't ever want the players to be injured ever, because that's.
But I mean, when you're looking at a 30-year-old striker that's really never had a massive knee injury or massive injury period. He's had a couple of knocks here or there, but he's never been out for a long period of time. The guy that I still want is the younger guy, and Dusan Vlahovic. Nobody wants him because he's played like crap under Juve, but so did Matthias de Ligt. I mean, so did a whole host, Angel Di Maria. A lot of players play like crap under Allegri. But it's just that thing of, if we keep a Matthias Tell, we can compete with the likes of a Cologne, a Dortmund, Leverkusen, Leipzig, stuff like that, because Matthias Tell is on that level as of right now.
Yeah, he's a good player, and there are some good players coming through too. I mean, if you look at the Bayern squad now, there's lots of youngsters coming through, and we talk about this online quite a lot. Is that you can't have everything all the time. You can't be that successful all the time. I know that's the expectation when you talk about when Bayern fans think about, but you just simply can't. You've got to let the old guard go. I mean, you've got problems now at the back. Neuer hasn't been back, hasn't been playing. What's going on? Jan Sommer saw the writing on the wall and got the hell out of there. You've got
but now you've got Neuer that's out 8 to 10 weeks more because his injury took another thing.
Going to make some more saves. He's
but
going to be busy.
But it's like all of a sudden, like the last couple of days, it's been like David De Gea pops on and Kepa. It's like, give me a break. Kepa's fucking terrible. I don't want him anywhere near the club. If anything, go back to Stuttgart and say, hey, we'll give you twice the money. Give us Alexander Nobel back. And just call it a fucking day. Or we can go down to Cologne and steal Timo Horn from the back.
Well, he's not on the team. So
he's not there anymore?
No, Timo's gone.
Oh, okay. I'm down with that. We'll take him anyway, though.
With that too, I should pretty much expect he wouldn't mind a quick jaunt down.
We'll take him. But I mean, the thing is like the whole thing of like us missing out on Stefan Ortega when he was at Bielefeld, and I would have loved to have had him as a backup, but now he's at City, and City play him in Carabao Cups and FA Cups and stuff like that. He's happy as shit where he's at. So I mean, the other one would be like the Dortmund keeper, Kobel, but we're not getting Kobel anytime soon. No. I mean, we may get him 2, maybe 3 years down the road. It's possible, but I don't see that happening for a while. I see him pulling a Weidenfeller and a Berkey and just sticking with Dortmund for the long run.
Yeah. I mean, but you've got to think in the long run terms, and now's the time. I mean, I'm one of Oliver Kahn. No, not Oliver Kahn. He used to be a goalkeeper.
We can throw him in the keeper. I'll take that.
No, when you think about people like Thomas Muller, who's got to now be thinking, this is certainly the sunset of my career this season, next season at Bayern, because I don't think he'll go anywhere else. Certainly not in the Bundesliga, but I've been surprised before. But then you've got the midfielders coming through. Musiala is magic. There's no doubt about it. How Southampton managed to let him get away from them, I don't know.
The Chelsea game callers.
The guy you just brought in from Leipzig, Connie Lima, is really, really hot. That's a real bonus for the midfield. That's gonna, when you've got issues with the likes of Leon Goretzka, he's certainly, you can swap like for like virtually off the bench. So which is good Champions League news at the very least. But I think you're going to have the same old problem with that man up front, and in the end, you might just go back to the straight obvious choice if Harry Kane doesn't magically appear before the end of the transfer window. It's not that
And I
Bayern
mean,
are lacking.
and Serge Gnabry can do it too. He's done it for the German national team. He's just not.
He's not
I mean,
number 9.
Matthias, but technically neither is Matthias Till. I mean, they say he's a striker, but he's not. I mean, if you look at Choupo-Moting over the years, he's never really been a solid 9. He was kind of like the guy that can play 9, but he probably shouldn't play 9.
He's that target man. He's big and he's kind of got a presence up front. Whereas the likes of the speedy Tell and Gnabry and Sané, they're not massive sort of black holes where defenses kind of slow down and can't get around them. It would be nice to have Harry Kane in the Bundesliga. It really would. But if the danger I see is that Bayern are pinning virtually their entire season hopes on this one signing, and that strikes me as being a little bit short-sighted, really.
It's definitely odd too, because I haven't seen Bayern struggle this much in a transfer window to get someone in forever. It's just incredibly interesting how, like you said, like I think they didn't expect to be in this road this long. And, like, you saw them try to get, like, Kolo Muani and people like that and, like, just slide off of them. It's also interesting then how many people, how many people are trying to leave right now. Like, you have Pavard, you have Goretzka. It's just interesting. They're having a weird transfer window. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's, like your guys were saying, like, the board shift and, like, there's just so many differing pieces now. But I'm really shocked they're having this type of summer. This is something I would expect from like Dortmund, really.
I mean, from
a team in transition. Sorry to butt in on you.
You're fine.
There's a team in transition that hasn't really got it together since when Nagelsmann came.
Mm-hmm.
It was still in transition. Then they were in transition again, and they're still moving stuff around all the time. And it's not that solid traditional Bayern lineup that they've had for the last 11 years in a row now. I mean, let's make no bones about it.
Let's be honest.
It's not working as smoothly.
Let's be honest. We've been in transition since 2019. We've been trying to find the wings that we can replace Robin and Ribéry with. And then it was Coman, then it was Sané, then it was Serge, then it was supposed to be Davies, but he got pushed to the back. So, I mean, we finally got the wings replaced, and it only took us 2-ish, 3-ish years to get the 2 greatest wings in the Bundesliga's history done. Now it's, okay, now we're trying to replace Lewandowski. But we want, for me, what it looks like is we want the exact replica of Robert Lewandowski. The same age, the same way of playing, the size. But there's only one Robert Lewandowski. Harry Kane plays completely different as far as the way that he comes back and all that stuff. Him and Son are interchangeable. I mean, they read each other's minds. You're bringing in a 30-year-old that has a 1-year contract that doesn't know what Kingsley Coman's thinking, what Musiala, and you have to be there and understand what Musiala's thinking, because nobody knows what the hell he's thinking. I mean, that kid just makes shit up as he goes. I mean, the closest, I guess, you can get to that would be like, say, maybe a Patrick Schick at Leverkusen, because he has to read the mind of Florian Wirtz or Jeremy Frimpong.
He disappeared last season, Patrick Schick. Although, just going off on a side note, I quite fancy Leverkusen this season with Xabi Alonso at the helm. They've had some nice little signings. Okay,
they've got an ugly jersey though. That jersey's terrible.
Well,
not that one. I'm talking about the black one with the big red cross. That
jersey.
Yeah, that
no
FIFA.
Heard me say that.
That FIFA kind of announced.
Said that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is this year there's just so many teams that you don't really know what they're going to bring. You know what I'm saying? Like Dortmund's completely revamped. You don't know what race, the anti-Semitic, transphobic striker they just got. You don't know what that guy is going to do. That piece of shit. You don't know how they're going to fare without having arguably one of the greatest non-Jamal Musiala midfielders.
It's
with Rafael Guerrero
that
being on Bayern's squad. That's a big cog in that machine.
only took you 20 minutes to mention that, Ryan. I was waiting for it.
I was trying to be nice.
But it's what's interesting is the preseason, the way it's been going. Dortmund win against Manchester United, draw with Chelsea, beat Ajax at the weekend. I was in the stadium for the Ajax game. Yeah, it's looking very pre-season-y. Of course it is, because that's what it's there for. But I think the belief is there as much as anything else. Sabitzer's a really good haul in for them as well. That makes their midfield a little bit stronger. I mean, he's not, as you say, quite rightly, he's not Jude Bellingham.
But he does things that Jude doesn't. I mean, Jude Bellingham can't score a free kick from 40 yards out. Sabitzer can score, we'll say used to be able to score them at will from that point. Has he been able to do it lately? Not really, but that stint with United, he did pretty well. I mean, granted, he's playing next to Casemiro, which that's going to make anybody look good. But okay, I'll take that back. Van der Beek looked like shit in the one game he played with Casemiro. The one game. Or no, he didn't even play with Casemiro. He was at Everton by that point. So yeah, he just fucking sucks. But I mean, if you look at like the Julian Brandt is finally possibly getting back to the Leverkusen version that everybody remembers. It's taken him forever though. But my thing is once they get into playing teams like and Jake, I'll mention your beloved Cologne team. That's a pain in the ass for a lot of teams. Cologne's just that pain in the ass. When they play them and they don't have Rafael Guerrero flying up the sidelines, creating the chances for everybody. Because Ryerson's not going to do that. He didn't do it at Union Berlin. He's not going to do it now. And who do they have playing opposite of him on the other flank? Because you got Ryerson's as their left back, right? Who's their right back?
Ryerson, and there's Wolf that goes up and down as well.
Yeah, okay.
Probably gonna be Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf's fucking terrible. I mean, he got punked out by a little kid wearing a Cologne hat. I love that kid though.
He's had a good preseason tour though. He was like really good against Manchester City. He scored against Manchester City.
But my thing is based on preseasons for like Bayern in the past. Julian Green's looked amazing in preseason. Chris Richards looked amazing in preseason. You know what I'm saying? You've got all these guys that have played in preseason games that look like absolute studs against cities and Chelsea's and stuff like that. And then as soon as we get back to Munich, they go right back to the second team. So, I mean, Wolf, we all know can do a brilliant move here or there, but is he going to be able to convert to being that consistent guy like a Rafael Guerrero was? Because Guerrero was the reason Dortmund was where they were last year, besides Jude Bellingham.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is
I mean, he's a useful player. There's no denying it.
I mean, you've got to think he's the guy that ran up the sidelines. You could not really push forward because he was going to sneak behind you. He did the crosses. He drew the defense to one side with Sebastian Haller having wide open back, you know what I'm saying, back posts. So, I mean, the thing is yes, Jude Bellingham took a lot of the credit. Yes, Sebastian Haller took a lot of the credit, or Malen and guys like that. But Guerrero was always the forgotten guy as far as non-Dortmund fans. He's the guy that if you take him out of that Dortmund team last year, there's a lot of times Ryerson's not going to do what Guerrero did. Guerrero had some key goals that mattered. You know what I'm saying? That got them either back into the flow of the game or at some points won games with goals or assists. So, I mean, he's that guy that under the radar He's kind of like a Konrad Leimer at Leipzig. They're not really getting. Okay, Konrad Leimer didn't get really the credit that he should have for a long time. He was that undervalued guy.
Linchpin of
Well,
the team for quite a
but
while.
Phil, you're looking at it different. For people like me that don't follow, you know what I'm saying, them, and you see a more broad fan base. You always heard about the Upamecano's and the Konates and the oh God, who's the guy that went to PSG?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, the wingback. Yeah,
I would counter what you say. Dortmund are going to miss Guerrero less than Bayern still miss Lewandowski.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but
you can find a cover for that.
Dortmund still miss Erling Haaland though.
Yes.
And they definitely will. And I don't care what social media Dortmund fan wants to pipe in, chime in, whatever, and say whatever. They're going to miss Jude Bellingham way more than they think they will. That's going to be the one that I want to see. To see how they function without him.
But when you look at what Dortmund do, the way they were with Jadon Sancho as well, they know that when one of these guys explodes on the scene, they know they're going to lose him. So they already start looking for another one. And then, I mean, they got double gold really with Sancho, Haaland, and Bellingham now. There's three very, very talented players who have moved on. I mean, Haaland has exploded and been fantastic. Jadon Sancho probably wishes he was back at Dortmund because he's not had a brilliant time. You know,
does he even play?
Yourself about how, you know, some players work better under certain trainers. You know, I think this whole Tuchel thing is very interesting for Bayern because one of the reasons he leaves places is because he's got his ideas, and if that's not working out, I mean, there's already a little bit of friction between him and Kimmich about who's the number 6. What is a number 6? Can he play at number 6? Should he play at number 6? Is he better in the back line? And that's all kind of problems that you really don't need.
Well, and Tuchel has a history of, I tell you what I want, you give me what I want. If you don't like that, I'll go out into the press and piss you off to the point of where you fire me. I mean, he literally did that with Dortmund when he wanted all these things for Dortmund and wanted them to basically stay instead of being more of a buying a Erling Haaland or a Bellingham and knowing they're going to leave. He wanted the guys to stay. He gotten 2 or 3 scrape ups in the media with the board at Dortmund, and that's why he lost that job.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Did he do it? Did he do it with Chelsea though?
Absolutely did that, Chelsea.
Okay. I thought he just got fired because he was crap.
No, if you're building a wall, you want the best bricks and mortar you can get. If your suppliers can only give you the cheap stuff, you can turn around and go, this wall's not going to hold. It'll have, you know, first sign of an earthquake or anything like that. It's going to be a complete disaster and fall over. I want the best stuff, and you can't blame any coach for saying, you know, no, I don't want second best. I want to do it like this.
But my thing is
you think that I've got the wherewithal to make us into a Champions League winning side, but you're expecting me to do it with third-rate materials.
Yeah. The thing that I'm thinking is weird with what he's, as far as like a number 6 request, I don't think he wanted Konrad Leimer to start with. I think that was a Brazo want.
I think it was already in place before he arrived, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he got Leimer, which can play 6 the same, kind of like a Joshua Kimmich. They can interchange. One plays a 6, one goes forward. They're sort of the same type of player. Leimer's just not as, doesn't have as short of a fuse, we'll put it that way. Doesn't want to fight you at the drop of a hat like Joshua Kimmich would.
Yeah, he's got a little less of that
Arthur Vidal.
Yeah. Kimmich got that very much snarling in your face going on, whereas I think Leiner would just rather try and just get round you. And
yeah, but then you've got the Goretzka, then you've got the Ryan Gravenberch, And Gravenberch, my only issue with him, if you don't want to be here, let the team know that. Don't go out into the damn public and in the media and start running off at the mouth, because now the fans don't like you because you run off at the mouth and you talk a bunch of shit, and you still haven't made an impact that we have seen anywhere. So, I mean, he's got the Goretzka, he's got the Gravenberch, the Limer, the Kimmich, but now they want a big time number 6, like maybe a Chua Mini or a Rombat, which I think he's going to Man United maybe. But it's where are you going to put him? Because the minute you get one, somebody, if you're paying big numbers for, say, a Chua Mini, you're going to sit the guy that you just signed. You're going to sit Kimmich. No, you're not going to do any of that. You've got to clear out a Goretzka or a Gravenberch. You've got to get rid of one of them.
Unless, of course,
do we really?
He's gone. Unless, of course, you find yourself with injuries. That's the thing. And with the Champions League, you needed a squad that's more than. I mean,
and with Goretzka, he's injured every 5 minutes. Well, Goretzka's injured every 13 seconds. He injures his foot or injures his ass. Which is why
you need backup, of course, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, look at the other we haven't mentioned yet is Kim Min Jae, or Min Jae Kim, however you would like to do it, either Korean or German.
Just call him Kim. Kim.
Call him Kim. He's another addition. We've got Pavard still doesn't seem completely happy either. He's not.
I don't see him being here.
Yeah, I'd bank on him leaving.
Because he's dying to leave. I got a feeling once Harry Maguire and McTominay transfer out of Man United, that's the new rumor this morning is Man United want to put in a 30 or 35 million bid. If they want to, that's fine, but you better find somebody that can play right back very quick. Because the thing you're looking at is Guerrero's still hurt, even though he can play both sides. Stanisic is the guy, but then the other guy that you have that I still don't understand how the hell he still has a job, but I want his job, is Bunasar. How the fuck do you still have a job, bro?
Yeah, I think Stanisic is one of those that I was surprised when they let him go out on loan, but I think it's because they wanted to give him more match time. Quite solid and decent performances when I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
But you're playing for Bayern, and it's difficult to get a sort of regular place in the Bayern team. So, yeah, I think he's one. I'll be honest, I haven't really followed his performances outside of the Bundesliga. I think he was in Belgium or somewhere like that. He was on loan. But I'll be interested to see whether or not he gets game time when the season starts.
Oh, he will. That kid's insane. Like, I think he's the goofiest defender because the way that he runs just looks really slow, but he's kind of like that Jerome Boateng Hamburglar. And no, I'm not calling Nicolas Sula his real name. He's the Hamburglar for me. I don't give a shit. But those two are extremely big guys that look slow as shit till you watch them in person. And then it's like, holy shit, that is a fast, large guy. Well, yeah. Stanisic isn't built like them, but he looks slow. But yet he locked down Mbappe for a long period of time. He's locked down, you know what I'm saying? He locks down guys like Guerrero. I mean, he's locked down some extremely talented players. But, you know what I'm saying? Does he go above Mazraoui? And no, Stanisic went on loan a while back. He ain't on loan right now.
No, he's back now.
Yeah, somebody had asked if he went on loan. And now, granted, I will say, based off of the chaos that Bayern is doing right now, God only knows who would go out on loan, who's been sent on loan, and nobody knows yet because we're more worried about Harry fucking Kane.
Yeah. So, the other interesting guy is can't even remember his name. Scored against Liverpool, absolute banger.
Krutzig. I think that's how you say his name, Krutzig. Yeah. See, now this is where I need Derek Ray. because Derek can pronounce literally everybody's name without thinking about it.
Well, I think it's pronounced Kreutzig, if I'm not
Kreutzig.
wrong. Kreutz, yeah,
See?
I think. I've got to see
We
his
all
name,
need to.
otherwise.
We need to take the Derek Ray school of names. I don't know how the hell he comes up with how he says
Well,
those
Derek is
names.
he's definitely the oracle in those terms. I'm just having a look because he's not actually in my list. He's not listed on the
I don't think
on
he's
the A
first
team.
team right now.
He's still listed as being in the under 19s, I think.
Okay, there you go. Kreutzig.
My internet's gone all slow for some reason.
It's because you're in Germany. We know how slow that internet is.
Well, this one's supposed to be 100 megabits, which is quite fast. It's faster than me.
And the DB trains are supposed to be on time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be on time.
Yeah, Kretzig.
Now, my
Kretzig
question to
is the guy's name.
Now, my question to Jake, and you may be able to fill me in because I haven't been able to keep up with Cologne or anything like that. Is Modeste still at Dortmund, or did he come back to Cologne? Because I know he went to China and then came back and then went to this place. And is he still at Dortmund, or is he back at Cologne?
He's out of contract right now, so he's
gone.
not a team.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is a week and a half, the day before the transfer window closes, y'all sign him back again.
No, for once, Cologne is good on. Colone's good on strikers this season, which is actually a very rare occurrence. There's like David Selka, obviously. There's we got Luca Waldschmidt on loan. There's still
now. Did y'all get Luca this year?
Yeah, it was this.
Okay.
This summer.
Okay. That's a good. That kid's good.
He's had a good preseason. In fact, the whole team. I'm really surprised they're looking as good as they are before the season started. I was expecting after losing Jonas Hector and after losing Elis Shaqiri that we were going to look like we didn't know what we were doing, but the attack looks pretty good. I gotta say.
Now,
yeah, I'm worried about the possible transfer embargo that we might that they might land.
With
what
that
is that for? What would you get one for?
There was some promises made in a contract negotiation, and it was pointed to that it wasn't correct, and UEFA just have been coming down really hard on young player.
Okay.
And it was a kind of he said, they said, we said, and it was all a bit wishy. I don't know, Jake, if you probably looked at it a bit closer than I did, but is it
kind of along those same lines as like Silas from Stuttgart, along that same type of line, or
no? It's more like
Silas was.
Because I mean, he got lied to by an agent, right? And that's what his thing was. He was lied to by an agent to do this, that, and the other. Well, yeah,
it got very complicated for him. But no, there's so much been going on. You'll have to excuse me because sometimes seasons are like blackboards. You just wipe them.
Yeah.
Because there's no longer information that you need. So I'm having to dig.
And that's the thing for me as well. Like I like me not knowing Modeste was gone, or not knowing that. I apologize for not knowing Waldschmidt was there. But the thing is there's just so much fucking chaos, like right now, and then having to deal with the other side of the chaos of the Women's World Cup and Germany flubbing the fuck out of that. So I mean, you've got all of that. Then you've got the League's Cup fucking stupid nonsense that the MLS and League MX are doing. So yeah, it's hard to keep up. But now there's one thing I have kept up with, and I love bringing this up because Phil, oh God, what's her name? The Hertha Berlin fan on Twitter, Anna.
Anna.
She's blocked me on Twitter. I think.
No.
And I think the reason is because they were in relegation, and I went fucking ape shit on Twitter laughing at Hertha Berlin for being in the second league, 2 games in, and they're sitting in the damn almost dead last spot. But the thing that I saw yesterday, they're trying to sell, I guess, Luca Bacchio and a few others. Why, if you're
Yeah.
sitting in 15th of the second league, why in God's name are you selling the best players that you have?
I don't think they have a
Well,
choice though.
there's this thing called money. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Bayern don't seem to have a problem with it. They've got piles of it stacked up around. You know, if you go around to Dieter Hernes and Uli Hernes' house, all the Herneses, Patrick Hernes as well, all of the Herneses.
That's how it works in Bavaria. We have money. I forgot Berlin's broke. My bad.
You see, you're talking about being relegated to the second flight. Well, my team went down at the end of last season from the Premier League as well. We're back at the top, or we were after one game, but that was because nobody else had played. We won.
But didn't Hertha Berlin get like an injection of money like 2 years ago or something, or how did that? Oh, that's right. They had the financial thing where they made him sell this. Okay, so yeah, they may be in some fucking Hamburg level shit show.
They have, yeah. Luca Bacchio is the latest one, and the goalkeeper as well. And it's tough being relegated. Bayern don't really know about that because it's never happened to you. So talk to Hamburg about being relegated after not ever being relegated. It's bitten them hard on the backside as well. They just can't get back up.
But we don't suck. They suck.
Well, they suck, and they do the Dortmund thing, and they blow it when they got the chance. Yeah. I mean, that's.
They've been in almost that playoff spot the past 4 years.
3 or 4 years,
and then drop the last game or two, and then fall right back out. But I thought it was crazy to see after 2 games of the second Bundesliga, you had Schalke that was down there in like 14th. And then you had Kaiserslautern was between them. Then you had somebody else, and then it was Hertha Berlin. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Both of the Bundesliga teams are at the fucking tail end of it.
They're only valid for the top flight. So you've got people like Luca Toussaint who's gone across the park. You've gone from Hertha to Union, which is a bit like going from 1860 to well,
we don't call them 18. That's 1859 plus.
Yeah, there you go. It's a bit naughty from a fan's point of view, but of course players go where the work is. I mean, if you've got your family and you're living in Berlin and your side gets relegated, your contract's only valid for the Bundesliga, and Union say, "Oh, as you're here, come on over." But yeah, so I think a lot of players leave, obviously, because their contracts are not valid for the second division, and by that I mean they know they can earn more money elsewhere, and they don't have to stay. I mean, let's be frank. It's not about loyalty or anything like that. It's a job, and if you're going to get paid more doing your job next door, then you go off and you do it. We always talk about this. The loyalty, one club players are few and far between, and sometimes it's only circumstance, but sometimes it's because they are that particular club. I mean, Jonas Hector, gone. That's it. You never played.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had him say 4 years ago. 5 years ago. Yeah, I would have loved to have had him. But there's nothing you can tell that man to make him ever want to leave. I mean, he's like, I'm going to be buried on the field in the left side of this pitch. I'm just going to die on the field.
Thomas Muller will be forever Bayern. There's no question. I mean, part of me would, if he gets sorted out and he's out of the squad or whatever, and he's not getting games, and he decides to hang up his boots, he will hang up his boots. I don't think he'll go anywhere else. My gut feeling is, you could earn some more money and do some other stuff elsewhere, but where would the interest be? I can understand why Lewandowski left, because I've won the top scorer again for like the 12th year in a row or whatever.
Well, and Lewandowski's wife hated. I think since day one she's hated Munich. I mean, because she's the fitness person, she likes being outside and running and doing all that shit. Now that she's in like Spain, you don't have 6 foot of snow in the winter. You can go do a 4-mile run with your sports bra and all that shit on in Barcelona in the middle of the winter. You're not going to do that shit in Munich in the wintertime. You're going to have 10 pounds of jacket on.
Yeah. And a healthy portion of Leberkäse in front of you with a nice fried egg on top.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is like, now we're going to, since you brought up the food, we're going to go back to the food argument about the Duna, Donair, whatever. Phil, what would you classify as the food of Cologne? Because Anthony Bourdain designated Cologne's best food was currywurst.
Yeah.
No.
That's what he classified, and that's why I'm just trying to figure it out. Because he said that's where you go to get the best currywurst in all of Germany is in Cologne at this little place. But he said that would be their.
The thing that I would always associate with Cologne in my 30 plus years being here is Reibekuchen.
Yeah.
Reibekuchen is the thing. Reibekuchen in Köln, in one of the local breweries. Oh my. When I first came here and they gave me that, I thought, I'm staying. It's for those of you who don't know what it is, it's grated potato and onion formed together with flour in a like a great big, like what looks like a burger patty, and then it's deep fried, and if you're lucky they deep fry it in lard, animal fat, and it comes you can either have it with apple sauce or just with salt on the top and beer, lots of beer.
So it's like a hash brown.
Sort of thing, but it's
a fancy hash brown.
It's like where hash browns were born. It's a bit like American football. It's kind of a spin-off.
It was stolen from somebody else.
But
okay, so
fantastic.
So basically,
eat that.
The Cologne food you would classify would be the hash brown type food. That Jake, would you agree? Well, okay.
It's just.
Well, I've got. Hey, you don't want to hear me explain Leberkäse to an American. You realize I have to call it spam so these idiots know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you can't do that either. That's.
No shit. I know we don't have the same thing. Like if you're trying to explain what currywurst is to an American, you do understand you have to talk about like cutting a hot dog up, putting it in ketchup with curry powder on it. They don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So like for the Americans that are in the chat that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, it's a hash brown on crack that is fucking insane. I've had it in Bavaria, so it's kind of a different spin on it.
Yeah, I think they call it something different down south.
Yeah. My only thing is like I can't stand to go to like a Hamburg or anything north, because once you cross a certain point in Germany, they all want to eat fucking fish. And that's the same shit in Bavaria too. Like if you order a fish, they give you a fucking fish with eyeballs and everything. I don't want a fish looking back at me. So that's why I go with the Leberkäse. That shit is processed about 10,000 gazillion times. It don't look back at you.
Something called Pinkel, which is a weird sort of potato, cabbagey, bacon chopped up bits kind of thing, which is actually really nice on a cold winter's match day. It's nice and warming. But a lot of places like Bochum really pride themselves on their halftime currywurst, which they give to all the press, which is really cool. Ooh. So you get a halftime currywurst.
Okay, now we have a request, and Jake, since you've been to Cologne, you can throw this in too. They need a recommendation to get that from the best place in Cologne for the Rieben, however the fuck you say that. I don't speak German for a reason. My southern accent does not work with it.
Translated, it means rubbed cake. Reibe is to rub, to grate. Grate cake, I suppose, because it's just grated onion and potato and flour all stuck together. The best place in Köln, or one of the best places to go to, is you go to one of the breweries, one of the Kölsch breweries, somewhere like the Fru, which is FRU with 2 dots over H, or the other one is Yeah, there's quite a few. There's Pefken, there's Mountains There's quite a few breweries, and it's a traditional kind of Cologne thing. But the Früh or Reisdorf Brewery do it as well. But check which days they do it, because they used to do it every day, but because the fryers, the oil fryers are kind of intense. They only do it. Some of them only do it Tuesdays and Thursdays. Some do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Always check, otherwise you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Now, Phil, you've heard of Obatsta, right? The German beer cheese, Obatsta,
Yeah.
or Obatsta, however they want to say it. Jake, have you heard of that before?
Mm-hmm.
You know where that was invented, right?
Not a clue. You got me there.
At the Weinstefan Brewery.
Oh, was it Weinstefan?
There was a lady that worked in their kitchen, and she just came up with it. And she's got the original recipe is from the Weinstefan. Technically, I guess at that point it was being converted from the brewery to, you know what I'm saying, brewery plus restaurant. But yeah, she's the one that came up with that. And when I found that out, then it was like, okay, I'm going there because they have the original version, and then I can compare that to everywhere else. The original version is good, but holy shit, is it full of butter? Oh my god! Like there are hunks of butter in that shit. But I mean, but like the foods that I love to get when I go to Munich is the like the Bavarian beef, like the Bavarian beef steaks.
Right.
Leberkäse, just because you can go fucking anywhere and get that shit. And then the Döner. Now, stupid me, I'll decide to go with like one in a box because I'm lazy and I don't want it to get everywhere. Or I'll get, you know what I'm saying, the wrap, kind of like a burrito if I'm like walking and trying to eat it. But 99 times out of 100, I get it the traditional way. And I try to eat it like most people in a hotel room sitting in bed. That shit gets everywhere. Oh my god. But I will say, compared to, and Jake, you can probably attest to this. When you go to Germany, the food that you eat there just feels 50 times better. Like when you eat it, you kind of have a better feeling about yourself compared to this shit that they serve here. Now, Jake, you're in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina area in the South. The food here, fuck, man. If you try to eat soul food, fucking hell. You either going to take a nap or you're hating life all day because you want to take a nap.
I can only say the only time I went to the USA, what I thought most about the food was, is that for the entire family that we've just got there, or is it just for me? Because it's
That's
like,
just for you.
It's incredible. My wife and I used to order one portion and eat it between us.
Now, I will say, Chicago deep dish is fucking trash, but Jake, don't hurt me on that. It's that shit's more.
No, deep dish isn't it isn't the pizza for our specialty. So
I mean, that stuff's. I mean, the Chicago deep dish is more like a. Shit looks like a cake. Like you have to eat it with like a fork as thick as some of those people make that shit. I've had it like at the Navy Pier and stuff like that. Oh my Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm
not familiar with what you speak of. I must admit, I've not had whatever that is that you're talking about.
If you're having deep dish at Navy Pier, that's like as touristy as you can get. So that wasn't that probably wasn't a good representation of Chicago pizza.
I had just gotten out of the Navy boot camp, so we're not really allowed to go very many places. There's like certain places you're allowed to go, and Navy Pier was there, so I was like, "Oh, Chicago deep dish." I'm sure there's better places because it's like if you go to New York to get a New York style pizza, you don't go to the ones at the damn people show.
When we talk about that, sorry, I was a bit somewhere else because.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, you're still probably in Italy eating the real pizza. I don't want to hear it.
Well, I was. I did. I don't think we had pizzas while we were in the States.
Because you can go to Italy and get the real thing.
Well, a lot of Italians come here, so we don't even have to travel much. So a lot of the restaurants here are of, you know.
Now, have you been, Phil? Have you been to Lake Garda before, or Gardasee.
Yes.
I fucking love that place. Just don't buy any food in Simrione. That place is expensive and overpriced.
What was interesting in my little Italian jaunt that I've just been on in the off season is the fact that, from a footballing point of view, every single tiny village has got a little pitch with a stadium. Even if it's just a little stadium, sits a couple of thousand people. Every tiny, I spent the whole time just taking shots of because they let the grass grow over the summer because there's no football. Yeah, the stuff grows there like there's no tomorrow. So it's all about hip height. Got some really good shots of all these little villages around.
What's the most picturesque stadium you've been to?
Picturesque.
Like if you're sitting in the stands, when you look out, you see the pitch, you see the stands. But what's like say Monterey's type stadium, where you look out and you see a gigantic mountain and all of that type of stuff. What's the most picturesque spot?
The old Freiburg Stadium used to be good with the fir trees poking at the back. That was quite good. That's a really good question, because I like different stadiums for different things. Like I really love the Weserstadion where Bremen play because of their floodlights. I think their floodlights are incredibly attractive from a modern urban sort of concrete jungle kind of way, in the same way Bochum's are as well. That kind of does things.
I mean, it can be anywhere worldwide. And Jake, you better be thinking about yours because you're up next.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones.
Mine is Como 1907. The stadium's right on Lake Como.
That's nice.
So, I mean, you're sitting there, you get to breeze off the lake. I mean, granted, when Como probably gets thrashed by somebody, then you just go for a swim afterwards. But, I mean, that's probably the best one I've seen is Como 1907. Just because it's like one of those types of... It's not something you really see in the U.S. as far as that. I mean, you'll see it at the University of Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Their football stadium has the lake behind it. What's it called? Petco Park in San Francisco. You have the bay right behind there. So, I mean, those are the, I guess, comparable ones. But, I mean, that's not Lake Como, Italy. You know what I'm saying?
No,
it's fucking San Francisco. It's San Francisco and Knoxville. Come on. It's not Lake Como.
Yeah. There's like it's kind of like, yeah. I'm trying to really think, because maybe I'm a bit of a nerd, but I mainly when I'm in football stadiums, I'm watching the football, not really kind of looking around and going, "Oh, that's nice." You can see the
mountains. I mean, at least you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's more of the thing of as like at halftime or lead up to it, and you're sitting there looking out. I mean, and I understand, like, being from in press boxes and stuff. The press boxes in a lot of stadiums kind of suck as far as that, because you can't really, depending on where it's at, the roof kind of hovers over top of you, depending on where you're at and that type of stuff.
Yeah,
so
normally a bit lower down, normally behind the main camera in the center. That's why whenever I go to a private football to football privately, I quite often when I've got a weekend off, go and visit the local side. You know that, Jake. And it's very weird standing in the zoo, looking at the action at the other end of the field, because I'm so used to being in the middle and being able to see everything that's going on. You just think, it's not the best seat in the house.
Now, Jake, which one's the most picturesque one you've been to, since Phil can't come up with one? And he's old. He may have forgotten a bunch.
Honestly, BC Place in Vancouver. I think Vancouver already is an incredibly beautiful stadium, or city just in general. And like I wish they had opened the roof a little more, or like maybe they can't, but just like walking this stadium, like you're already in the mountains, and then you get to BC Place, and it's just like, for some reason, it just feels like you're just like in a field. It's
now is that is that where the Whitecaps play?
Yeah, Whitecaps and like their Canadian football team plays there too.
Okay, the Tiger Cats or the yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like Seattle. That's another stadium. It's like, depending on which side you're sitting on. Like one side you can look back and see the city of Seattle, but if you're sitting on the opposite side, you see the the mountains.
Mhm.
Technically, the mountains. You're still a little bit far away from them, but you can see Stevens Pass and stuff like that. So you can see big mountains. So I mean, you've got that, but then you've got like Charlotte FC, where fucking concrete jungle shit show in an NFL stadium. Yeah, I said it. NFL stadium, my ass. That's the shittiest thing to put an MLS team in. Because the fans are sitting over there chanting as much as they can, and you can't hear it because the acoustics aren't made for that. I don't know. Chicago doesn't play in Soldier Field anymore, do they?
They do. They occasionally play in Bridgeview sometimes, like when the Bears are playing.
Is it the same type of thing where the fans chant and cheer and scream, but it really just fades up out of the stadium?
Not really, because Soldier Field's already super small to begin with. I think it's the second smallest. Maybe it is the smallest now, but it's a little
Smaller than
easier to-
Lambeau?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Smaller than Lambeau?
Huge. Yeah. Lambeau has like
Oh. Like 8 people in the town.
yeah, their capacity is 81,000. I think Soldier Field's like 65 or something.
Okay.
Twice the
Oh,
size
six-
of Southampton's ground.
Yeah, Soldier
Well-
Field is 61,000.
My thing, okay, Phil, you've been to English games for a while, correct?
I've been to a few.
Have you ever been to one at Luton Town?
No.
That is probably the coolest stadium outlay that I have seen. Just because, and now granted, the EPL is going to completely fuck that whole cool little factor of it. But I thought it was the coolest thing for a team that just goes into the EPL. You can live in a flat literally beside the player's entrance. So you can stand in your garden and watch the players come in and out and yell at somebody to get off your grass. That is the coolest thing ever.
Can I reel out one of my stories right
Sure,
now?
go for it.
People who've seen interviews with me before and have heard it already, so I'll try and make it short. When I moved to London when I was 19 to go and study, looked everywhere for somewhere to stay, looking for a shared house with other students. We looked all over the place, and eventually they looked in this sort of Rolodex and said, this one might be all right for you. Do you like football? And I said, yes, I do. And they said, well, go and have a look at this. So, I mean, obviously the team's going to get you riled right now, but don't think of it. Just think about it from a footballing point of view. So I got to Fulham Broadway, went up the Fulham Road, and there was Chelsea's Shed End. And the very next house after the turnstiles was a place called Walsingham Mansions. It's still there. And I think on the 4th or 5th floor, I knocked on the door, and the guy opened the door. The student guy opened the door and he said, "Oh, you hear about the room?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, you can have the corner one because none of us like football." And I went into the room, and it's like a bay window, and I could see apart from one corner flag, I could see every inch of Chelsea's pitch. And I turned to it, I just went, "I'm having it. That's mine. I'll take it." And I lived there for a year until they started buying up well in advance. This was 1984, 85. They were buying stuff up already to turn it into what it is today. So yeah, my first year in London, I lived in a flat that overlooked Chelsea football ground. My favourite flat ever. To be honest, I mean, it was just one room in a shared house with a load of smelly students, of which I was one. But I saw some games there. Southampton beat them twice that season, I think, if I remember rightly, which was even better. Although if you've got the windows open, you have to keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, they turn around and start chucking stuff at you.
Now, see, my thing is you had a flat that overlooked the thing then. Now
Yeah.
you can go to the Allianz and get a hotel room that's attached to the stadium, and it's going to cost as much as you made your entire 1984 just for a night. Now we do have one quick question. Akunji wants to know what kind of field did Chelsea and Dortmund play on, because I guess that's the reason Nkunku blew out his knee. Was it artificial turf or grass?
Well, it's grass, but the issue is, one, it's pretty much like where every field event in Chicago happens, so it's already hard to maintain that. But the field is actually run by the Chicago Park District, and they kind of don't care. So, I mean, this was in between. I think this was in between a Fire game, and then there was that game, and then there was the Bears played there on Sunday. So they're already
Okay.
not maintaining it to its best, but it's always like that, and that's why a lot of people don't want the Park District to own that field anymore. Is because I mean, Bears players get injured on it all the time, like Fire players get injured all the time. So
Now, no, Phil, we don't have you much more longer because you're about to have to go overview, but me and Jake will continue on if he wants to. We'll go ahead and do the same thing we always do, the halftime speech. You did one last time and it was really good. We're going to do another one. How does it make you feel to know people like Jake get excited when they know that you're coming on or that you're there to talk to them, that people look up to you? You know what I'm saying? And your calls ring true with people for years. How does that make you feel?
Very humble actually, because I'm just another guy who likes football like the rest of us. Or girl, I mean, girls like football as well. I mean, wherever you're coming from, but just another football fan, and that's how I've always thought of myself. I try and be honest, and many years ago, when I was a teenager, there came a realization in my life that I didn't just like rock music. I liked some rap, and I liked some hip hop, and I liked some opera, and I liked some swing and some classical. And I realized that I liked music. And several years ago, I got the same kind of epiphany. I love football, and I love football played well. And if your team's playing well, I'm going to tell you, your team is playing well. This is superb. That is fantastic. If they're playing badly, I'll say the same. I'll say it about my team, about your team, about anybody's team. What I enjoy is football played well. And I've been blessed and lucky enough to be able to watch a lot of football. Some of it played well, some of it played not so well. But hey, that's life.
Now, doesn't the Bundesliga say football played well? Are you trying to
No,
throw out some DFL dog whistles out here?
it's football as it's meant to be. Football as it's
I
meant to
say,
be.
okay,
You know.
gotcha.
But
Now,
yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm so glad that so many people like the way I commentate. I try not to be partisan about things. You know, I mean, you know, Ryan, I'd love it if somebody else made my job a little more interesting. If Bayern are going to have to win it, then please on the last day of the season. That's what I've always said, and a couple of times in the last 4 or 5 years that has been the case. I think the Bundesliga needs to be possibly rejigged about how things work, but that's a topic for a completely different day.
yeah,
But
because
the
you
fact
don't
that,
need that heart attack. We need that heart attack.
yeah, people follow me and say nice things about me, and I'm really rather flattered that you think I'm. It's nice. Sometimes you do see the Bayern fans going, "Oh, he's totally Dortmund," and the Dortmund fans go, "You can tell he's a Bayern fan," and in a way, that's kind of like a pat on the back because it's just I'm commentating on what I see and
You
how they
don't
play.
do it. Oba Mayela definitely does.
Of course he does, because you
Me
know
and
that'd be like
Patrick are going
asking
to
you.
fight.
It would be like asking you not to be sort of like Bayern leaning. It's just not going
Hey,
to
hey,
happen. But
hey! I'm not like
best,
Jake over here or over here. He's non-biased
that's
supposedly.
true. I'm
I'm
completely
biased as they
unbiased.
fucking come.
yeah, you know, Patrick's a lovely man, and he's got a lot of experience, did a lot of things, won a
And I'm
lot of
gonna
stuff.
fight him.
You know, had the experience of being a Black Eagle, which
Mm.
you know, in a country like Germany, the resistance to multiracial, multicultural society has taken a while to come through and be where it is today. I mean, it's not perfect, of course it isn't. Nowhere is. I get the feeling, but you know, he had a really tough time and death threats and all that sort of thing that we always see in the media when something like that happens. But Patrick's a lovely guy. I mean, I love working with him. Love working with Stefan. In fact, I love working with all the guys. Like working with Kevin McKenna. Because
Now,
I mean,
now you do you do calls with Lutz Vandensil too, right? Or is
with
that
yes, I do sometimes work with
okay
him, but although he's been quite busy with the
with St. Louis?
yeah, St.
Now
Louis recently.
we'll go ahead and get into now's your motivational speech time to motivate people like say Jake or people that look up to your calls and stuff like that. because the things that you say do ring true and people take them to heart. So we're going to give you your chance again. Since you did it on IG Live, now we're going to do it on YouTube Live to motivate them for the second half of their week, day, month, season, however you want to do it. Go for it.
Don't wait for someone to do it for you. Do it for yourself. Because if you sit there waiting for it to happen, you're going to be sat there waiting for a heck of a long time. There is only one way to do it, and that is to dig deep in yourself. And it's getting up on those mornings when you feel like sleeping in. It's getting out there, getting the fresh air, talking to people, connecting with people, doing things that you don't like doing, like working for free. I mean, if you're a journalist and you want to get in, it's very hard these days to get into the business without doing some pro bono work. Obviously, you shouldn't be expected to work for free all the time, but if it gets your foot in the door, you make yourself useful. If you've got the talent, if you've got people that also are there to give you a leg up, that's something else. If you're halfway up and somebody's below you, try and help them up the ladder. Because if I hadn't have had that help when I started from Toby Charles, who is quite well known regarding soccer made in Germany back in the 70s and 80s in America. He's quite a well-known commentator. He was the man that mentored me, took me under his wing. If you can do that, do it, because it's a good feeling. I mean, it sounds a bit like the end of Scrooge, you know, and then every day you'll want that feeling. You know? I'm not hearing singing from Brian Ryan. I'm hearing a little bit of singing coming from Jake, but you know, it's you can't rely on anyone else. It will never be done for you. What you make will be for you, and then quite rightly, you can sit back and say, well, you know, I lifted my backside off the couch and got out there and did it. But it's purely a mental thing. And I'm gonna quote one of my favorite quotes. And this will out me as a Star Wars fan. I always call it the Star Wars method. When Yoda says, "Do or don't do," there is no try. And it really is. You go out there and you do it, and you keep doing it until you do it to your satisfaction, or don't moan about it. Because if you don't try, if you don't get out there and do it, then it's not going to get done.
Hey, see, every time he brings the heat every time with that. Now, before I let you go, everybody's talking about Saudi Arabia and the Saudi League and stuff like that. What was your reaction when you found out that the Roberto Firmino and Edward Mendy team, El Fadid or Fadid, whatever it was, when they got beat by Heidenheim 6-2 in a preseason match? How did you react to that? Because my first inclination was, who the fuck is Saudi Arabia? When the Bundesliga 2 champions tune your ass up. So, what was your reaction seeing that?
Heidenheim are a secret force. They have been lurking on the edge of the Bundesliga for some time. It's not surprising. It really isn't, because if you think about something like Germany beating Brazil in the World Cup by 6-1, if you'd have asked me beforehand what's the score going to be, I would have no way said that is what it's going to be. And on the day, weird things happen. It's why we love football. You know, they might be best. You know, you can try and buy the Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain, but it doesn't always work. You know, you can have the title handed to you, and all you have to do is not draw with Mainz.
I didn't bring it up. Phil did.
But seriously, and again, it's not that I'm a pro or anti either Bayern or Dortmund. It's just that, you know, you've got to take those chances, because it's, you know, Mainz were there with the mindset. I mean, I've heard stuff behind the scenes with the mindset. It's like, oh well, we're not going to really do ourselves in with this one. You know, we basically will stay here and party with you after the game.
I mean, they partied.
The guy who scored the equaliser, you know, he just kind of hit it, really, just sort of put it in. Yeah. And there you go. You can't stop people from doing what they do. The whole Saudi thing just backs up my own personal sort of thing. If you've got money, you're going to have better stuff generally, you know. And I'll be absolutely honest. I love the Bundesliga, work for the Bundesliga all the time. But if somebody came and said, I'm going to treble your wages, what am I supposed to do? You know, I go, oh no,
Yeah.
I'd rather live in poverty when I retire. Or, you know, it's the same with footballers. When they're young, their heads get turned. Of course, they go off and earn a lot of money. One clumsy tackle, like we talked about earlier, one clumsy tackle, and that's it. You are retired.
Mhm.
So you've got to look after
And that's a
yourself.
big thing for like Messi in the MLS. I mean, with Kane, like you said, he could get hurt coming to the Bundesliga.
I mean,
You
look,
still have
we talked about Christo getting injured for Chelsea. You know, this
Yeah.
massive transfer, loads and loads of money, plays a pre-season friendly, out for 4 months.
Mhm. But I mean, if you look at, like, say, Kane coming to the Bundesliga, you still have high end defenders. You know what I'm saying? Heidenheim, Cologne, Dortmund, Leverkusen, those guys, they're still high end defenders. When you start doing, like, say, a Messi and come down to the MLS, they're high end defenders for the MLS, but you still have guys that will take shots. Like the finely placed Mats Hummel's toe is going to be finely placed on the outside of your knee instead of the outside of the ball.
If you come down and play on a Sunday with me, you're going to get a knee somewhere as well.
But I mean, Jake can tell you just by watching Chicago, some of the guys in the MLS, they're good players, but it's just they haven't honed that skill into being able to do that. And all it takes is one shot to Messi's knee, and that's the end of that.
It's a cultured thing that happens over time. I think, you know, we laugh, not laugh, but we joke about, you know, sort of, yeah, the MLS, yeah. But at the same time, everyone in Europe has kind of grown up with football from their grandfather's grandfather. Whereas in the US, okay, plenty of people coming over from Europe that have got it in there as well. Yeah, the South Americans have had it for a long time. But there is a certain culture awareness, and it's not like some people are just kind of got corners and just don't know how to use that finesse, if you like, to get that Mats Hummel's toe in there to keep it.
That's why Chiellini does what Chiellini does, because I mean, he's 1,000 years old, but he's still a really viable center back. Now, granted, that Chicago pisses me off because you clowns put Bastian Schweinsteiger as a fucking center back. That was a terrible idea. He's slow as shit. Once he gets that slow, you keep him on the bench. You don't make him a fucking center back. Make him a coach.
I'm actually commentating his brother's team's game this weekend in the cup.
Who does Tobias's team play? Is he a coach?
He's coach at Astoria Waldorf, I think now.
Oh, okay.
It's Union Berlin on Sunday.
Oh, that's going to be a bad. I don't know. Union Berlin can be Union Berlin can either be extremely good or they can be extremely average. That's their issue. They can tear your heart out, or they can make you laugh yourself to sleep because they're just that bad.
Very, very effective. Very effective indeed. That can be boring for 89 minutes and then get that goal.
Boom.
And that's why they are where they are, and they've thoroughly deserved it.
Now, do you see Heidenheim doing roughly the same type of thing? Maybe being that mid-table team, or are they going right back down?
This year, more than any year, the two that went up, straight back down. I can't see them. With the best will in the world, it'll be exciting. The same way Paderborn were exciting, mainly thanks to Stefan Baumgart, of course, because of his style of play. I think that's why he's done better at Köln, is because he's had better materials to work with than he had. You know, no disrespect to the Paderborn players, but I think, you know, the quality of players he's able to implement his ideas. It's it kind of brings us back to what we were talking about right at the beginning. It's about coaches being able to implement what they want to do with the squad that they want to do it with, and he's had a lot of that. But I'm going to have to, I'm afraid, dash off because the very first Bundesliga Weekly is waiting to be recorded, and luckily my voice is going to be one of those on it.
Well, good. Me and Jake like the Bundesliga. Maybe you can throw us in there at some point. Just saying.
Well, have a word with the bosses, but you know what they can be
like. Don't have a word with them. They fucking hate me.
I still got that picture of me voicing the report with you that we had in.
That was the coolest picture ever.
It was me doing you.
Yeah. Okay. Don't say it that way. That's just weird. We'll get a copyright strike or something. That's some weird shit.
But
Well, no,
it
we're
was
not on
me.
Twitch. That'll be all right.
It was me doing the voiceover of the documentary interview and
There we
stuff.
go.
Yeah,
We can't
I
say
was
me doing you. That's just weird.
yeah, obviously in those terms. It's it's all about interpretation. I should know better, really, seeing as
So
talking is
how many things do you have to film between now and say the weekend, as far as like the Bundesliga weekly stuff and that type of content?
well, I did. I do a lot of voiceover work. So yesterday. I did a special. It's coming out the pre-season, sort of teeing up the season, sort of thing. And today it's the Bundesliga Weekly, which is more sort of in depth about what each club is doing and how they're preparing for the new season. And then at the weekend, there'll be not only the live games that we do, but there will also be a short highlight and a long highlight of both of every game. One of about 2 minutes, because I think in the first round we keep it real short, especially if you've got a Bundesliga side playing a seventh tier side and the score's like 15-0. Obviously, we're just going to show you the best goals. It's the best 12 or whatever. So there's not much to do with that. So I've got those, and then it all starts again next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, there'll be certainly Wednesday will be the weekly ahead of the start of the Bundesliga, and the Super Cup will have something that they keep us busy, which is really nice.
Now, is that all going to be on? That's all on the ESPN Plus in the US, right?
A lot of it will be on ESPN Plus. I'm fairly sure. You might have to dig around for it in some of the back channels, but Bundesliga fans know where it is.
Yeah. See, that's so much better than that Apple TV crap. I hope we don't go to the Apple TV. You might like it because you may get a raise because Apple pays better, but
we don't get paid by it. I work for Sportcast and the DFL and the DFB, and never the others really. That's
okay.
What they do. What happens is people ask me from all around the world, when and where and what, and I've got no idea who broadcasts the Bundesliga in, I don't know, let's say Slovakia or China. I think it's PTT or somebody like that, and Africa I think is Star Times, and India and Pakistan there's another provider, but they change every couple of years, and I've got no I don't know. It's the thing is there's no copyright at all to things. So for instance,
there's copyrights. Ask my Instagram.
My greatest moment, for instance, my greatest moment to date, the 5 goals in 9 minutes by Robert Lewandowski, as soon as what I said left my mouth, it no longer belonged to me. It belonged to the DFL. And they can send it wherever they like.
The DFL has killed 3 of my Instagrams because I put like a 2 to 3 second video of like one of your calls or something like that. They do not play with that shit.
Germany is generally hot on copyright and data protection. Data protection is very, very much a hot topic here. But obviously, with Germany's history, you can imagine, knowing where people are and doing and everything is kind of yeah.
But my thing is it's like for me and Jake and stuff like that to be in the U.S. All we're doing is showing the league. You know what I'm saying? Getting people that follow us more exposure and that type of stuff. But they see it as we're pirating their shit, and it's like, well.
They see it as people should be paying us and paying attention to us, not paying attention to you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't. It's out of my grade, that one.
I guess fuck me then.
I'm gonna have to wish you well, Jake and Ryan, because I've got to go because I've got to work. I could stay here all day talking about this, but you know that.
Yeah, he can. All right, well, have fun. We'll continue on. We'll see if we can get Jake to actually say some words.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of.
No, you're good.
It's one of those things that goes with the job. Unfortunately, you've got a motor mouth, and I just like the sound of my own voice quite a lot. But thanks everyone for tuning in and watching and putting up with my monotonous voice. I'll hopefully see you or hear you, or you'll hear from me somewhere at a Bundesliga game near you soon. Bye for
Yes,
now.
sir.
See you, Phil.
Cheers, Jake. And yeah, FC all the way.
All the way.
Spür mal Anders.
Whoop. There we go. All right. Now, Jake, this is a question. I've never personally seen a Bundesliga have a blackout date. I know, depending on the country you go to, you may like if you go to Germany and try to watch a game on ESPN Plus, then it's blacked out because ESPN Plus really doesn't exist there. But that's more geotag than it is like I guess a US blackout thing.
Right. They don't have like local broadcasters the way we do with like MLB and NFL and things like that.
Yeah, it's
just
more
like,
country oriented. Like you may have to get like a Champions League game on a DAZN or Bundesliga game, maybe on free TV, but it's also on what is it? Sky Sports,
right.
that type of shit. So let's see. Miles Robinson was close to taking out Messi's knee, but Messi dodged it. But the thing is Miles Robinson is a different type of center back. If you hit somebody like, I'll use Charlotte for an example since it's up the street. I think it's Privet, whatever the hell his fucking first name is. But he's only like a 20-year-old kid. He's not going to know the same foot placement as U.S. men's national team player Miles Robinson. Miles Robinson's played high-level guys. He's played with high-level guys. If you go swinging for that ball, miss the ball, and clatter into the outside of that knee just exploded. Or you can do like, which team was it? The guy went for the ball and just kind of like jolted his foot out, and instead of hitting the ball, the studs hit the shin pad, snapped the dude off at the knee. You know what I'm saying? You can look at the MLS like yellow card, red card things throughout the season. Like I think MLS puts it out on YouTube. Is this a red card? Is this a yellow card? A lot of those are, some of those, when you look at the tackles, those are some dangerous fucking tackles. And those are the ones guys like Messi's and Busquets and Albas and Schweinsteigers and, you know what I'm saying, Shaqiri. Well, Shaqiri's legs built like a fucking tree trunk. I don't know if anybody can step on his leg and do a whole hell of a lot. But like the Insignes and Bernadeschi's and players like that they're used to playing high level guys. They're not used to getting their knees fucking kicked. You know what I'm saying? As much as that. But I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like you, I think there's a difference between a young kid playing at Heidenheim and a young kid playing in MLS. Because of what you're saying. Like, I think you do have to be a little more skilled to play in Bundesliga than you do at MLS. It's not to say MLS isn't skilled at all, but
Yeah.
I think the bar to get into the league might be a little higher.
Okay. I can get with that. Now, let's see if I think somebody had another thing. Well, that was the Pavar thing we went over. Then the Nkunku thing. Then the Miles Robinson thing. Okay. What's your thoughts on the $7 million? Because you follow the MLS just as much as the German thing. Adding a fourth DP and a $7 million cap, or raising the cap from what is it, 5.3 to 7 something.
I mean, hopefully that'll spur MLS teams on. I feel like you run into the same issue. This isn't a pro rel like argument. I think this will be whatever, but I think there's some teams that are just kind of happy not spending anything.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is because there is like a pretty strict salary cap. So I'd prefer to just completely get rid of it. I know that's not super popular, but
Mm.
um,
I mean, that would
hopefully,
be the most logical thing if you're not going to have, excuse me, if you're not going to have promotion relegation, at least give the owners the ability to just go buy the talent that they want. I mean, you can go in and like say David Tepper or Arthur Blank or you know what I'm saying, some the guys like that. They can go out there with their billions of dollars and dangle it in front of a of an Mbappe, knowing damn well he's not coming to the MLS. But give them the option to, instead of going for a an R field, or you know what I'm saying, a I don't know, give me another random player like a Brant Bronico, because I can only think of really Charlotte players that I think are fucking half-assed. But like going for a Piatek or going for a Milik, or you know what I'm saying, those Polish strikers, instead of maybe going for a Swiderski because Swiderski's cheaper,
Mhm.
or you know what I'm saying, going for maybe instead of maybe that bottom echelon player that some players have a chance to go, you could raise that level to where Minnesota could actually maybe get a guy that's marketable. Charlotte could get a guy that's actually marketable, because neither one of those really have a guy that puts butts in seats. You know what I'm saying? Shaqiri's the Chicago guy. You can prop him up, even though he really hasn't panned out to being a superstar. But you have him, you have Kai Kamar, you have guys like that that you can that you can push to sell tickets. Messi obviously sells tickets. Busquets, Alba. I mean, Bawanga. You've got like a Carlos Vela. You know what I'm saying? Those guys out in LA can sell tickets. But we found out on the flip side, Chicharito can't sell shit.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a. I feel like the marketable player, as much as we talk about it, that really ends up only being like 4 people, 5 people in the world, maybe. I think at the end of the day, marketable needs to be wins.
Mm.
At the end of the day, that's the best marketing you could possibly do is winning.
Yeah.
So I think the
But if
good
you're not,
people.
but if you're not winning, like if you're not LAFC, or if you're not, you know what I'm saying, Columbus Crew or Cincinnati right now, if you're in that transitional period towards the bottom, you know what I'm saying, you kind of have to have that guy to put butts in seats. A la Toronto before, you know what I'm saying, before Insigne and Bernadeschi showed up.
Well, that's
They
what
had a
he.
lot of empty stadium until the Italians arrived.
But I mean, that's what Chicharito was. I mean, they have someone who's one of the most popular Mexican players ever, but they're butt, so they don't have anyone coming to games. So they
Well, he's
are. I
popular,
mean, they're
but
just
he's
bad.
dog shit though. There's a whole host of Mexican fans that would say Chicharito's a piece of shit. But let's see your thoughts on this one. Now we know for sure Kane is not coming to Bayern. Should Bayern go for Deshaun Vlahovic? Yes, I say yes, but I don't know. Did they say that?
I don't know how that's
Um,
for sure
I,
not coming.
yeah, I haven't seen anything that says for sure he ain't going anywhere.
But I mean, I mean, Bayern has to have a backup plan, whether it's this summer or this winter. They got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, for me, with the Vlahovic thing, as far as what I've seen in the rumor mill, Chelsea's trying to get rid of Lukaku as a player for player with Vlahovic. They're going to do Lukaku plus I think it's 40 million, and then they get Vlahovic. If Chelsea gets a Deshaun Vlahovic with a Chris, you know what I'm saying, with an Nkunku, that wouldn't be a bad setup as far as those two. But the thing is can Pochettino run something that can incorporate those two? Because I still don't think Nkunku does what he did before under Pochettino. I just don't. I don't see it. Um, the kid's good, extremely good. I just think Chelsea under maybe Tuchel would have benefited with him because he can play the striker. He can play what Kai Havertz kept trying to do. I don't see because he can play striker, he can play center forward, he can play cam, he can play pretty much fucking anywhere. If you bring in a Vlahovic, Nkunku's used to playing with a Timo Werner. Vlahovic isn't a Timo Werner type player. So do you play him off of Nkunku? That's the thing. I can't understand how that makes sense for Chelsea. But shit, I don't understand how Chelsea made sense of fucking Mudryk. Or, you know what I'm saying, some of the shitbags they've bought and now sold out to Saudi Arabia. But it's funny how you've probably seen it online, EPL fans shit talk the Bundesliga all day, every day. But then when they bring in a Bundesliga player of the caliber of an Nkunku, they never shut the hell up. And they never ask us about how they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that this guy just didn't do that. Well, if you asked fucking Jake, if you asked me, if you asked fucking Augustus, if you asked fucking 9,000 Bundesliga people, we fucking know what these guys do. We can pretty much tell you how they're going to fare. Like, I could have told you that Kai Havertz wasn't going to do a whole hell of a lot at Chelsea just by where they were playing it and how they were playing it. Like, I literally watched a Chelsea fan say, Kai Havertz, he can play he's a really good number 6. Like, are you fucking out of your mind? I mean, yes, at Leverkusen, he played maybe 2 games as a 6 because they had like 4 billion injuries, so he had to. And yes, he's played striker because he made Chicharito look like a clown at 17 years old. But his best position is using him like a Thomas Muller, like they're doing with Florian Wirtz. Kind of like what Bayern's doing with Musiala. Give him the ball and get the fuck away from him. Just let them do what they do. That's what Havertz was good at, and for some reason Chelsea just never wanted to fucking do it. But all you had to do was ask a Bundesliga fan. We've watched the kid since he was 17 years old. We know what he brings. It's the same as Jadon Sancho, Man United fan, saying, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. But if you
I think that was a little more surprising to me, honestly.
Not really. If you watched him at Dortmund, he would be incredible for 2 or 3 games. Then he would vanish for a month. Then he would show back up with 2, 3, 4 goals and 3 or 4 assists. Then he'd vanish again. It's the same thing. He did the same thing that Christian Pulisic did minus the injuries. I mean, he was there, then he wasn't. He was there, then he wasn't. I'd say the Arsenal player that he was like, but I'm not going to mention that bug-eyed rascal because me and that gentleman don't see eye to eye politically at this moment.
I think
you do. You understand you understand Mesut Ozil's like far right now. Yeah. So we won't mention that bug-eyed fucking rascal. Fuck that guy.
I think the worst example of like Premier League fans not knowing what they're talking about was actually Stefan Ortega. I think people were like, they think they saw him come from a quote unquote random Bundesliga team, and like he's not going to be any good. But
yeah, he's fucking good.
He kept Bielefeld from being relegated for years.
I mean, even though let's be honest, I don't know if you live by the mantra of Arminia Bielefeld doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, the classic joke.
The city doesn't exist. The team exists. The stadium exists. I've never seen the city on a map. But besides that, yes, Ortega was the reason they were where they were. I mean, he was the Jan Sommer before Jan Sommer did his 20 billion saves against Bayern Munich. I mean, but instead of like Jan Sommer would do 20 saves, 15 saves against a Dortmund or Bayern, you know what I'm saying? He would do those, but then he'd play fucking Cologne and allow 6 goals. Or he'd play fucking Leverkusen and let in 4. So I mean that was Summers' issue, but with Ortega it was like saves every time. So with Ortega getting 4, 5, 6, 10 saves, maybe one gets by. That was that's why I wanted him at Bayern. Um, just because he's a very, very, very good secondary to Neuer. But if Neuer goes down like he's been doing, he makes sense. What is this? George Bello got released. Well, yeah. I mean, Bello did get. He should have never went to Bielefeld in the first damn place. But I mean,
He wasn't good with them either, unfortunately.
yeah, and I mean, back-to-back relegations. That's just. I mean, Bielefeld, like Jake said, lost a lot when Ortega left. The minute Ortega was gone, that team was destined to do the nosedive. Um, kind of like Hertha Berlin. If they get rid of Luca Bacchio and guys like that, I see them taking a nosedive.
I think they're going to take a nosedive regardless. I don't know what's going on with them, but the vibe. I don't know if anyone saw their last game last weekend, but the vibes are just very low over there, and
I didn't catch
it's
the second game. Is it that bad?
well they lost to Wiesbaden, who just got promoted,
Mm.
um, and they played a good game, but I think like at the end of the game, like you would have thought someone died on the field or something. Like they like you know how what like when teams lose a game that they know is gonna like either put them in Champions League or something like that, like they're just like on the field like this and everything like that. They were
Mm.
doing that 2 games into the season. Like
Oh, yeah. That's
I don't
that's a
know how.
bad look.
Yeah, like if you're doing that 2 games in a season, like the rest of the season is not gonna be very fun. So
No.
uh,
And we already know what happens when because Schalke, granted they were way down there, but they beat Kaiserslautern and went back up a little bit. But we both know and have seen the video of what happens if Schalke fans don't like what you're doing.
mhm.
They'll climb on your damn bus and beat the shit out of you, or chase you down the fucking street.
Yeah.
I mean that's a thing that MLS fans or American fans in itself, they don't understand like that ultras culture. They see the videos of like say Leak Poznan and all the crazy flares and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they quite grasp. And I'll put the Bayern one in the background. But they don't they don't understand that yes, those guys will get on that bus if they want. Like if that's something that they want to do, Schalke has proven they can get on that fucking bus. They'll chase their star left back down the fucking street. I mean, they've done it.
Mm.
So that's the thing that a lot of people in the yeah, whatever. Don't give me that fucking that Philadelphia Eagles fans. Yeah, I will. You say Philadelphia Eagles fans, I'll raise you Dynamo Dresden, and we'll put them in a parking lot and see which one walks out. They won't be from Philly, I'll tell you that. But I mean, you've got to think, and we'll use what a Kunji says. The Eagles fans. Name me the last time there was a cow head thrown on the field of an Eagles game. You know what I'm saying? Well,
Mhm.
an, name me the last time a dead eagle was thrown on the field. You know what I'm saying? Dynamo Dresden cut the head off of a cow. Now, granted, they probably got it from a butcher shop, but they took a dead cow head into Leipzig Stadium and threw it on the field. Still to this day, no idea how in the hell you get a cow head into a stadium. I can't even bring like like a Movo microphone into a stadium, and these motherfuckers is sneaking in cow heads. So yeah, yes,
I
Okunji, Google cow head Leipzig. They threw a fucking severed cow's head onto the field.
well, I think you pointed out on like why that difference happens, right? Like you can't. I think NFL and even MLS or just American sports in general are more visual. I think they
Mhm.
rely more on like image more than I think soccer in Europe. And really, I mean, we stick it to Europe, but it's also other continents as well. I think the image is much more required to be pristine in the U.S. Like you can't even stand up at games barely in the U.S. Right? Like it's gonna
Yeah,
be kind of hard to be an ultra when if you go in the wrong section and you stand up for too long, the fans gonna be like, "Can you sit down?" Like it's hard to be
and that
comparable.
that shit drives me up the wall when they pull that crap because they're like it's like they're NFL fans that are trying to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at a lot of the stadiums that have, say, um, I don't know if Chicago has PSLs, the personal seat
Uh,
licenses.
yeah, the Bears do.
Okay. If you have like a PSL, like for Charlotte, you have a PSL um, for the Panthers, but you also have a PSL for Charlotte FC. When you get that type of option and they give it to Panthers fans and stuff like that, normally the first group that you get a hold of is the Panther fan.
Hmm.
And they take it like, oh, well, this is just a Panthers game. No, this is a completely different sport. We're gonna stand, but they're like, oh, you can only stand in this area. I hate to break it to you. When I go to the LAFC game in Charlotte, and I got front row seats, my ass is standing the whole time.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm over by the visitors team exit. I'm not standing in the Charlotte fan section. You know what I'm saying? I could. Ain't none of them going to do anything. But with them throwing beer and shit up in the air, I don't want to ruin my shit.
Right.
I think that's just dumb. I don't know if they do that at Chicago games, but that throwing the beer in the air stuff is dumb.
No, that
But
makes sense.
yes, for
Chicago.
everybody that doesn't believe me, I'm going to kind of hold it back here so y'all kind of don't get to see the very bad stuff. But there you go. Dynamo Dresden fans throwing, oh, there we go, through a cow's head onto the field. So yes, fans in Europe are vastly different than fans in the U.S. So, but I don't know. Is there any other topics you want to cover? Because I mean, I know we're going on an hour and 47 minutes.
No, I mean, I guess like for you, um, what's I know like everyone's kind of talked about Bayern's transfer, whatever, like their summer
Mm-hmm.
not being what they expected. But I think for you, what, how does this change your expectations for the season, or does it even?
I mean, it doesn't change the league or the Pokal because I mean,
Hmm.
even with Matthias Tell and Choupo-Moting, we should be able to easily um, do what we do as far as that. Now, when we run into teams like a Dortmund, even a Cologne, you know what I'm saying, the Gladbach, those types of teams, it'll be a little bit of an issue if we don't have that solid number nine. But we if we can figure out the way to spread the wealth like we did at the beginning of the season before the World Cup last year, and we ran the four triple twos.
Hmm.
You didn't know who was coming forward. You didn't know who was taking the shot. You didn't know who was setting anything up. That played into our benefit. But then when we reverted back to throw Chupamoting up at the front, then he's getting doubled down, tripled down with center backs and all that stuff. And then they know where you're going. So if we revert back to that needing that one striker up front waiting for the crosses, we're going to have somebody. Um, if we switch to that, say, Leipzig way of doing it, that Leicester City way of doing it, the Dortmund way of doing it, where it's just all out bum rush going forward. I don't see anybody that can slow us down because we just have that many people that can score.
So
But we have to score the goal. We have to score on the shots that we take. So 30 shots a game, one or two goals. That shit ain't gonna fly this year. We have to have 30 shots and at least 5 goals.
so why? So I know you mentioned Pokal and League, but I think one of the things of why the board kind of like got tossed up as it did is because of Champions League
Champions
not
League.
being what
Yeah.
does not having the transfer window that Bayern should have had affect that in your eyes? Like, is the expectation now different for that?
As far as Champions League, I mean, we could still go pretty deep into it. Without a solid number 9. Uh, I don't see a way that we could take on like a Man City with like an
Mm-hmm.
Erling Haaland or something like that. If we try to do what we did last year with a one striker thing. Like I said, if we do the all out run and gun type shit, it's easier for us because we can have Davies going forward, Guerrero going forward. You know what I'm saying? We have more
Yeah.
weapons all over the place. With the addition of Kim Min Jae, if the need arises where we want to switch to a 3 in the back, then you have Delict, Kim Min Jae, Upamecano. I know fans will sit there and say against Man City, Upamecano did have some brain farts, slipped a little bit in various parts of the season and stuff like that. So I've got a sneaky suspicion it'll be Delict and Kim Min Jae as our main starting duo. It will probably depend on, like, say, a Benjamin Pavard. Does he leave?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with that? Do we go for a Nicholas Fulkrug at some point? You know what I'm saying? We just need that guy that's, if we're going to play the way to have a strong number 9, we need to have a strong fucking number 9. Matthias Tell can do it, but he's not built that way. The same as Choupo-Moting. I mean, he's more tailored to that type of body type. But as we've seen, his body's starting to break down with age. So we may need something along those lines. And Thomas Muller's not that guy. He, with age, has slowed down. So we have to find something that's going to be that strong number 9. If they, you know what I'm saying? Because they keep saying, well, we may go for Kane in the winter, or we may go for Kane next year. Fuck that shit. If you give Matthias Tell the chance now, you can't pull it right. You know what I'm saying? You can't pull the rug out from under the kid now.
Right.
You give him the chance and you say, hey, sink or swim, bitch. I mean, it would have been the same thing that you do when you were going after a Kolo Muani.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, they're roughly the same fucking player.
Right.
So, I mean, Kolo Muani's a little bit older. But if, like, say, if Kane, there was a rumor of you may have to go up to 145 million euros to even get Daniel Levy to blink. That's what Sky Sports and Talk Sports are saying. If we go anywhere fucking close to 145 million for that old sack of shit, I will lose my ever-loving fucking mind. Because 145 million, you can get Victor Osimhen right fucking now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can get Randall Kolo Muani right fucking now.
And Bayern had to pull teeth to just pay, what was it, 90 million for Lucas Hernandez? That'd be almost double.
We paid 85 for Lucas Hernandez.
Yeah. But that's still what? That's the most expensive transfer you guys have ever done?
I think that's still it. Because Delict was only 80,
Like
right at 80. And I think, and the Kim Min Jae was 60 because it was a release clause. So yeah, I think Lucas Hernandez is still there, and fucking that snaky piece of shit. Fuck that guy. Everything the club did for that dude during his legal shit show and his healthcare shit show, and he just, I want to go to PSG. Fucking go then, motherfucker. They don't like you there neither. The PSG ultras literally said they would cut 3 fingers off of him. No, that was Vlahovic. They would cut the 3 fingers off of Vlahovic. They said that they would, what did they say? Kill him or beat him up or some shit like that. Yeah, because he's from, I think he's from Marseille or Lyon area. So yeah, they fucking hate him already. So that we actually liked him. You know what I'm saying? The Sud Curve and the ultras at Bayern liked him. They weren't threatening him. He goes to where I want to go there, and then you get threatened. Good job, stupid ass. Guess you didn't think that one through. But yeah, so I mean, it's if Bayern can figure it out. If we go 145 million for a 30-year-old with 1 year left, we have lost the fucking plot. Because I mean, you can get if you're wanting to sit for a year, you can get Nicholas Fulkrog for fucking 15 or 20.
Yeah.
And then you have 125 million supposedly that you want to throw at goddamn Kane. Throw that at fucking Chouamini. There's your fucking number 6. Tell Gravenberch to fucking kick rocks. Go hang out with the Liverbirds in fucking Liverpool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wouldn't have a problem with Chouamini, but the thing is, I don't think Madrid's going to entertain anything at this point. I don't think they're going to entertain shit. But if you walk up to them and say, "Hey, here's 120 million for fucking Chouamini," I think Madrid would be like, "Let me think about it." You know what I'm saying? You'd seriously have to start thinking at that point. But I think we just play Conrad Leimer and Kimmich together.
Yeah.
I think that's how that's going to be. And Bayern fans aren't going to fucking like it. They're already bitching.
You
Tuchel
can't sit either one of them, like you said
No.
earlier.
Yeah, if and then if you're trying to sit somebody else, who do you fucking sit? Musiala?
Yeah.
Literally the guy that's going to create everything. The issue is going to be how does Thomas Muller factor into all this shit? Because at some point Muller's going to be coming off the bench because Musiala, if he comes into his own, that's a hard kid to bench ever.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised.
I mean,
I'm surprised y'all did it that much in the second half of the season anyway.
Well, last year
first half?
The second half is when we benched him. We played him a lot, but he also had to come off the bench a lot. And it's the World Cup fucked with that kid's head.
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing that not a lot of people are wanting to admit. That World Cup fucked with a lot of players' heads.
Yeah.
Joshua Kimmich even straight up said it took him 3-4 months to finally start coping with playing bad in it. The only one I know of from the German team that it didn't really fuck with would be Nicholas Fulkrog, because when he came on, he fucking scored.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? He's one of those, I did my fucking job. What the fuck are y'all doing? Even with his cockeyed fucking teeth. But hey, I don't give a shit. I'll take that big joker. I mean, granted, at this point, if we abandon the Kane thing and go after Fulkrog, we're going instead of paying the 15 to 20 million that he's probably valued at, we're going to end up paying 30 to 35 because
especially
they know we're fucking desperate for a striker.
Yeah.
So now who because I didn't realize Timo Horn wasn't y'all's goalkeeper. Who's your goalkeeper now?
Marvin Schwebe.
Oh wow.
He's pretty decent. He's
well, he's been around the Bundesliga a few times, ain't he?
I think he's mostly been at Hanover, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he's been anywhere else, but I know he's at Hanover before he came here. So
yeah, because I mean it's a name that it's kind of like Schwallow and you know what I'm saying, guys like that you've heard the names multiple times. It's just kind of hard to keep up with where they're at this point.
Right.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how Dortmund fare with the little transphobic fuckbag as a striker. I want to see Sebastian Haller do well, but not too well. Can't crack on a fellow cancer person, but I don't want him to do too fucking well. He can do okay, just not great. I don't need him doing great. Fuck that shit. Don't need that. I'd like to see Shitterbeck get fucking dusted.
I think the Metro signing can be interesting because I think they bought him for a little too much.
Yeah.
I do think he's gonna have an impact. I think that's not the question, but I do think when his, we'll say, off the field issues inevitably come up at some point,
Again,
which they already have. I mean, like a week after he was back at it, after the board just said, "Oh yeah, you changed." But like when Dortmund does their usual pride stuff that they usually do,
yeah, how does that fucking backfire?
And
Yeah.
is the board going to really put their foot down and be like, hey, if you do this during what's an important event for Dortmund fans, like, are you gonna kick him out for a game?
Yeah.
Like, will that remain? I feel like that's going to be one of their biggest question marks, honestly.
My thing is with signing him as potentially, like, say, the striker type player. Sebastian Hallar's not going anywhere because he's a striker that you know what I'm saying, that Dortmund fans don't have.
Yeah.
Fucking Mecha, literally the same player as Makoko. So what do you do with Yusuf Makoko now? Does that affect his playing time, knowing Mecha can come in and do the same shit? He's a bigger kid. He's built a little more sturdy. Does that mess up Makoko going forward?
I think they kind of are not as sold on. I don't think they're going to say it out loud. I don't think they're as sold on Makoko anymore as they were, like, let's even say 2 years ago. I think they're going to really, this season, probably rely. It's not the same position, but Duranville, I think they're going to really. That's going to be their new kid now instead of Makoko, unfortunately for him. But
I mean, is it just Makoko's not any good, or is it just they found better options for them?
yeah, I mean, I think they like, what was it, 2020, when he first started peaking, or not peaking, but he was doing well, and like he hasn't really been able to replicate that for 3 years now. So I
Okay.
think they're kind of just like, we should probably not keep waiting on him. I mean, I don't think they're
Yeah.
gonna like kick him out of the squad or anything, but I think they're not
But
gonna
opportunities are
be
going to start drying up very quickly.
exactly right.
Now, who do you see as being the surprise team this year? Kind of like the when Union Berlin made their runs and Leipzig's original time. Do you see anybody in that lower half making a run this year? I'd like to see a Heidenheim make a run, but I'm kind of like Phil.
That's gonna be really hard.
Yeah, I don't see I see them coming up and coming back down.
um, the lower half.
Or just like somebody that
Or just
wasn't
in,
in the Champions League
okay.
spots. Do you see somebody do like a Freiburg, you know what I'm saying, coming out, being always consistent, but finally putting the pieces together to make that run?
Well, I
Because
think the easy.
I don't know anybody
Hmm,
that hates Freiburg.
yeah,
Freiburg's
no.
hard to hate.
Stuttgart fans might, but I
Yeah, but a lot
think
of people hate them. So
right. I think easy candidate is Leverkusen. What Leverkusen was in Europa League or Europa Conference, something like that. There's no way they're
mm,
gonna finish down. I think there's no way they will finish lower than a Champions League spot this year. But I think if Stuttgart somehow manages to hold on to Borna Sosa, Mavropanos, and Endo,
mm.
I don't think they're gonna. I mean, if we're talking about better than last year, or surprising, like, I already don't see them being down where they were last year. But if they can
Mm.
keep those three somehow through the whole year, I would think they'd be upper mid table.
Well, I mean, and they have Alexander Nubel from
Mm-hmm.
Bayern. So I mean, they've got the former, I guess you can say he's the Bayern keeper, but he really hasn't played for us. But the Schalke and Monaco keeper.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's played Champions League games for Monaco, and you know what I'm saying. He's pretty stout. So I mean, adding him to that with Buna Sosa and guys like that in their defense. Their defense is shored up, but do they really have the firepower up front to be able to, you know what I'm saying, maybe push for a top half?
I mean, they have Silas and Grassi, even though Grassi's now suddenly trying to leave. But
Hmm.
that's the question. I mean, I think every
I
team has
mean,
a question, and
Silas is one of those guys that if he's on, he's unstoppable.
yeah,
If he's
like,
not, he's dog shit.
which is usually because he's injured.
Yeah.
But I do have to hop off, man. But I
All right.
appreciate the invite, dude.
Oh hell yeah.
No,
I know you're not used to the YouTube thing since you're a big Twitch guy. Your big cool little Twitch setup you got over there. But yeah, I mean, normally it's Devin. Devin can only make it here, there, and everywhere. So I mean, I was like, hey, who's the guy that would bring the most from having Phil here as a Bundesliga person? And then it was like, we'll go with them. And then when you were like, yeah, I could do that, I was like, fuck yes, finally somebody that doesn't have a job like me.
I do, but I'm part time, so.
Oh, okay. But I mean, it's being able to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We talk on Twitter. Now we're on this. And then like at some other point during the season, we can do this again and we can bring on other people from different areas and then just have like those discussions and like post like say games on Saturday. I think me and Augustus and some other people are going to start doing like Twitter Spaces if that shit works this time.
Yeah.
So feel free to jump in on that and throw in your, you know what I'm saying, your expertise on that type of shit, and I'll invite you to those. But yeah, if we can get more like what do you call them, players or people like that, like a Derek Ray, because like I told Phil, we got one half of the, you know what I'm saying, the commentary crowns, the other one's Derek. Get Lutz Vondenziel from St. Louis City, you know what I'm saying, those types of guys, because players I've figured out are very hard to get, or at least at Bayern Munich they fucking hate me. But you know what I'm saying, MLS guys, stuff like that, that would be something that fits into your wheelhouse as well. And that's the good thing about having you and Devin being able to be co-hosts, because you can do Bundesliga and MLS. He can do EPL and MLS. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Phil sent me a message and said he was having fun. But yeah, that's the only thing with Phil is you let Phil go because Phil's going to go.
Yeah.
And then if he like for the Instagram live that I did, he didn't have a scheduling conflict. So he was able to just go and go and go. Well, Instagram kicked us off at like an hour and a half. So I was like, Phil, we're about to get kicked off Instagram, the IG live. It's starting to time out. And he's like, well, I'm not done yet. So he was one like Michael Zeman, where as soon as the original Instagram live was done, he just cranked that bitch back up and did it again. Yeah. So yeah, Phil could go on for days. And when you get him on stories and stuff like to tell stories, like his Chelsea apartment and stuff like that, dude, he's got some of the coolest fucking stories. So we'll definitely have him back on at some point, and we'll bring you back on with that one, to just go over that type of shit.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out. I only thought this was going to go an hour, but hey, fuck it. Shit happens. So, guys, make sure you check out 50 Plus Dooner on, I guess you got Twitch. Is it still 50 Plus Dooner on Twitch? That's the name? Okay. Mm-hmm. So, 50 Plus Dooner on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, even though you said you don't use that. You've got the jersey on Olive and York's site. I think it's still up.
Hopefully that I think they might. We'll see. I think they're they may bring it back. Okay.
But, and I know you said you were coming up with a website too, because it's on, I guess, your link tree. If you go to his Twitter page, he's got a little link tree link, got all his shit under there. Make sure you go in and check him out. Give him some shit every now and then. Especially if Cologne fucking fucks up, just give him some shit on that. But other than that, he's got really good takes on Twitter. And it's been an honor to have you on.
Yeah, honor to be on here.
So, all right, well, we'll let you go get prepared because you're probably going to play Twitch stream or something. I don't know how that shit works. But I think you play FIFA on there and a bunch of other shit.
I've only played Football Manager, and we're trying to get Leipzig
Okay.
relegated. So
Oh shit! You're trying to get Leipzig relegated?
yeah,
Oh
so the exact
Jesus!
opposite.
Then just go to Charlotte FC, sign all their players, put them as your starting. Those shitbags, yeah, get wrecked, Minty. I hope Messi fucking smashes your asses. So yeah, that tweet went sideways. You gotta love when
Yeah,
people. You gotta love when they sit there and like, oh, you're so irrelevant. You're such an asshole. Blah 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 blah. And then like I don't even tag any of those people, and they just come out of nowhere, and they're like, "Why are you saying this?" It's like, dude, I thought I was irrelevant, and you didn't want to talk to me, and my opinions didn't matter, but obviously my opinions matter.
right.
So, so yeah, anybody that's watching this that's a Charlotte fan, check your Twitter. I bet there's a 90% chance you're probably blocked by me now. I'm tired of your shit, crybaby Leipzig bastards. Yeah, they're the MLS version of Leipzig. Let's just admit it.
Well, and on that note,
Yeah, you know me. I got to start some type of drama at some point. I get bored. So, all right, guys, we're gonna let him get out of here. He's got to do some shit, but make sure you follow him on all socials and bye and Ryan out.